The black man in work clothes ordered quietly, but his hands were shaking. Something was wrong at this restaurant. The tension between staff was visible even to customers. The cashier behind the counter kept glancing nervously at her manager, while another employee moved with the exhausted shuffle of someone carrying more than their fair share. What nobody knew was that this customer owned everything they could see. Terrell Washington had built blue-collar bites from a single downtown location into Ohio's most beloved diner chain, but success hadn't prepared him for what he was witnessing today. The schedule book on the counter caught his eye. That familiar blue cover now seemed to hide secrets instead of solutions. As voices carried from the kitchen, discussing who deserved what shifts and who didn't fit the image, Terrell realized his company's values were being betrayed right under his nose. The conversation he was about to overhear would force him to make the hardest decision of his career and change multiple lives forever. Terrell Washington never imagined he'd be fielding complaint calls at 7 a.m., but the third angry customer of the morning had him gripping his coffee mug like a lifeline. "Sir, I understand your frustration," he said into his phone, watching downtown Cleveland wake up through his office windows. "We'll absolutely look into the service issues at our Riverside location." The call ended, but his assistant's voice immediately crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Washington, line 2. Another complaint about the downtown store." Terrell sank back in his leather chair, surrounded by the 15 years of blue-collar bites memorabilia that told his company's story. Awards for Best Workplace Culture, framed reviews praising their family atmosphere. And there, in the place of honor above his desk, the faded photograph that started it all. Him at 19, standing beside Albert Old Blue Williams in the original kitchen. Old Blue had been more than a mentor. He'd been the father figure Terrell never had. When the veteran cook took a chance on a kid from the projects, teaching him everything from proper seasoning to proper business principles, he'd planted seeds that grew into 12 thriving locations. "Take care of your people, son," Old Blue used to say, adjusting his signature blue apron. "They'll take care of your business. But the moment you forget where you came from, that's the moment you start losing what matters." The phone buzzed again. Victoria Miller, manager of the downtown location. "Terrell, hi. I got your message about the complaints." Her voice carried that forced cheer that always made him uneasy. "Honestly, I think it's just the usual adjustment period. You know how customers can be." "Victoria, this is the 5th call this week. Slow service? Unfriendly staff? Orders wrong? What's going on down there?" "Well," Victoria's pause stretched too long. "We've had some staffing challenges. Nothing major. Diana's been struggling to keep up lately, but I'm handling it." Diana Williams. The name triggered a memory. Hadn't Old Blue mentioned a daughter named Diana? But that was years ago, before his mentor passed. "What kind of struggles?" Terrell pressed. "Just motivation issues. Some people aren't cut out for the pace we need. But Ashley's been fantastic. Really stepped up as team leader. She's got that professional image our customers expect. Something about Victoria's tone didn't sit right. In 15 years of business, Terrell had learned to trust his instincts about people, and right now those instincts were screaming. "Send me last month's schedules and performance reviews," he said. "I want to see the full picture." "Of course." Though honestly, the numbers don't tell the whole story. Managing. Personality types. Requires nuance, you know? After hanging up, Terrell pulled out his laptop and dove into the downtown location's financials. Revenue was down 18% over 3 months. Customer satisfaction scores had plummeted. But most troubling were the subtle patterns in the data. Certain employees consistently scheduled for fewer hours, others getting prime shifts despite less seniority. His phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "If you really care about your employees like your commercials say, you should see what's happening at your downtown store. A concerned customer." Terrell stared at the message, then at Old Blue's photograph. His mentor's weathered hands held a young Terrell's shoulders in the picture, both of them beaming after their first successful lunch rush. Old Blue always said, "Son, when your people hurt, your business bleeds," Terrell murmured to the empty office. The morning sun cast long shadows across his awards wall, but somehow the achievements felt hollow now. He'd built blue-collar bites on the foundation Old Blue had laid. Treat everyone with respect, create opportunities for those who needed them most, never let success make you forget where you came from. But what if he'd been so focused on expansion that he'd missed what was happening in his own restaurants? Terrell walked to the window, watching early commuters hurry past the original Blue Collar Bites location across the street. Inside that small dining room, Old Blue had taught him that true leadership wasn't about having the title. It was about having the courage to do what's right when no one was watching. The question was, what would he find when he started watching? The lunch rush at Blue Collar Bites downtown should have been a well-orchestrated dance. Instead, it was chaos masquerading as efficiency. Diana Williams moved between tables with the practiced grace of someone who'd spent years perfecting her craft, but today she was covering sections meant for 3 people. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she balanced 4 plates on one arm while reaching for drink refills with the other. Meanwhile, Ashley Taylor leaned against the register, perfectly manicured nails tapping against the counter as she chatted with a regular customer. Her section, the easiest tables near the window, remained half-empty by design. "Diana!" Victoria Miller's voice cut through the dining room chatter. "Table 12 is still waiting for their coffee refill, and I need you to cover the back section too. Ashley has a family thing to handle." Diana glanced at Ashley, who shrugged apologetically while checking her phone. "Sorry, babysitter emergency," Ashley said, though her Instagram story from an hour earlier showed her getting a manicure. The elderly man at table 12 waved weakly for attention, his coffee cup empty, lunch growing cold. Diana hurried over, coffee pot in hand. "I'm so sorry for the wait, Mr. Peterson." "How's your sandwich?" "Oh, honey, don't you apologize. I can see you're doing the work of 3 people. The old man's kind eyes crinkled with concern. "Are you all right?" "You look exhausted." Diana forced a smile. "Just busy. Can I get you anything else?" As she refilled his cup, Mr. Peterson lowered his voice. "That manager of yours keeps giving you all the work while that blonde girl stands around. Doesn't seem right." "It's fine," Diana whispered, but her hands trembled slightly as she poured. "Really?" Back at the register, Victoria reviewed the day's assignments with Ashley. "You'll take the morning shift tomorrow. Easier pace, better tip potential. Diana can handle the dinner rush." "Perfect," Ashley said, examining her fresh nail art. "Honestly, some people just aren't management material, you know? It's about having the right presence." Victoria nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Our customers expect a certain image, professional, polished. Not everyone fits that standard." In the kitchen, Miguel Rodriguez, the veteran line cook, watched through the service window as Diana rushed between tables. He'd worked at Blue Collar Bites for 8 years, long enough to remember when Old Blue himself would roll up his sleeves during busy shifts. "This ain't right," he muttered to the prep cook. Old Blue would be turning in his grave seeing how they treat that girl. Diana caught his eye and managed a grateful smile. Miguel always tried to get her orders up first, the only small kindness in her increasingly difficult workdays. The afternoon brought more subtle cruelties. When the district manager called for a status report, Victoria made sure to take the call within Diana's earshot. "Oh yes, Ashley's been outstanding. Really embodies our brand values." "Diana?" "Well, she tries hard, but there are some cultural fit issues. Not everyone adapts to our standards." Diana's shoulders sagged as she cleared table after table, her blue apron, the same style Old Blue had worn with such pride, now feeling like a uniform of shame. The final insult came during tip calculations. Ashley, who'd worked 3 hours to Diana's 8, somehow ended up with equal shares from the pooled tips. "Team effort," Victoria explained when Diana quietly questioned the split. Besides, customer service isn't just about hours worked, it's about quality interactions. Diana bit back her response, thinking of her infant daughter at home and the rent due next week. She needed this job, no matter how unfair it became. As the shift ended, she stayed behind to finish cleaning Ashley's abandoned section, her soft humming of an old spiritual, one of Old Blue's favorites, the only sound echoing through the empty dining room. Outside, unnoticed by anyone inside, a figure in work clothes had been watching through the window for the past hour. Terrell Washington had seen enough to confirm his worst fears, but not nearly enough to understand the full scope of what was happening to his company's soul. The schedule book on Victoria's desk caught the afternoon light, its blue cover hiding the systematic discrimination within its pages. Tomorrow's assignments were already written in Victoria's neat handwriting. Another day of the same calculated unfairness that was slowly destroying everything Old Blue had built. Terrell sat in his car outside the downtown blue-collar Bites, engine off, watching the evening cleanup through the windows. The text from the concerned customer burned in his memory. "If you really care about your employees like your commercials say..." His reflection in the rearview mirror showed a man wrestling with uncomfortable truths. The expensive suit, the corporate polish, when had he become so removed from the actual operation of his restaurants? Another complaint call had come in during his drive over. "Your girl Diana was amazing, but that manager was rude when I asked about the wait times. And why was one server handling the whole restaurant while another one just stood around?" Terrell pulled out his phone and scrolled through the employment records Victoria had finally sent. Diana Williams, hired 3 years ago. Excellent customer reviews, perfect attendance. But her hours had been steadily cut over the past 6 months, while Ashley Taylor, hired just 8 months ago, had received premium shifts and a recent commendation for embodying company values. Diana Williams. That name kept tugging at something in his memory. His phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. That young black woman working today deserves better. Old Blue wouldn't recognize what his place has become. Old Blue? The message sender knew about Old Blue. Terrell's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. In his downtown office, surrounded by success metrics and expansion plans, it was easy to believe his own marketing about Blue Collar Bites being a family company with heart. But what if he'd been managing spreadsheets while his managers trampled the values that built this business? "Time to see what's really going on in my house," he said to his reflection. The decision crystallized like ice water in his veins. Tomorrow, he wouldn't be CEO Terrell Washington making scheduled visits with advance notice and prepared talking points. He'd be just another customer, invisible and observant. Back home, Terrell rummaged through his closet until he found them. The old work clothes from his days learning under Old Blue. The faded jeans, the worn flannel shirt, the steel-toed boots that had carried him through countless kitchen shifts. The clothes of who he used to be, before success and responsibility created distance between him and his employees' daily reality. In his bedroom mirror, the transformation was startling. Gone was the polished executive. The man staring back looked like someone who worked with his hands, someone who knew what it meant to depend on every paycheck. From his dresser drawer, he pulled out Old Blue's original apron, the one his mentor had given him on his last day. "Keep this," Old Blue had wheezed from his hospital bed. "Reminds you that serving people good food with respect ain't just a job. It's a calling." Terrell folded the apron carefully and placed it in his truck's glove compartment. He wouldn't wear it tomorrow. That would be too obvious. But having it nearby felt like carrying Old Blue's wisdom with him. "Old Blue, if you're watching, help me do right by your people," he whispered. His phone showed 11:30 p.m. In 9 hours, he'd walk into his own restaurant as a stranger and discover whether the company he'd built was still worthy of the man who'd taught him everything. The downtown location's schedule showed Diana working the breakfast shift, starting at 7 a.m. Victoria wouldn't arrive until 9, leaving a 2-hour window where the real dynamics might reveal themselves without management oversight. Terrell set his alarm for 6 a.m. and tried to sleep, But Old Blue's voice kept echoing in his mind. Son, when your people hurt, your business bleeds. But the moment you forget where you came from, that's the moment you start losing what matters. Tomorrow, he'd remember where he came from. And if what he suspected was true, some people were going to learn exactly what happened when Blue Collar Bites forgot its founding principles. Terrell parked 3 blocks away from the downtown Blue Collar Bites, his heart hammering like he was about to rob the place instead of observe it. The work clothes felt strange after years of tailored suits, but they also felt like coming home. The morning rush was just beginning when he pushed through the glass doors. The familiar chime sounded the same, but the atmosphere felt wrong, tense where it should have been welcoming. Diana Williams stood behind the counter, her blue apron crisp despite the early hour. Up close, she looked even younger than her 22 years, but her movements showed the efficiency of someone who'd mastered her craft under pressure. "Good morning," she said with genuine warmth. "What can I get started for you?" Terrell ordered a simple breakfast sandwich and coffee, studying her face. Something about her eyes, the shape of her smile, tugged at his memory. But it was her hands that stopped him cold. The same careful, precise movements he remembered from watching someone else work years ago. "Coming right up. You can have a seat anywhere. I'll bring it over." As Diana turned to relay his order to the kitchen, Terrell caught sight of a small framed photo tucked behind the register. It showed a much younger Diana with an older black man in a Blue Collar Bites apron, Old Blue's apron. The man's weathered hands rested on her shoulders with unmistakable paternal pride. The realization hit him like a physical blow. Diana Williams, Old Blue's daughter. Albert Williams had talked about his daughter constantly, how smart she was, how hard she worked, how proud he was when she got into college. "My Diana's gonna make something of herself," he'd always said. "Got her mama's brains and her daddy's work ethic." Terrell chose a corner table where he could observe everything. Within minutes, the breakfast rush revealed the systematic injustice Victoria had built. Ashley Taylor arrived 20 minutes late, offering no apology as she clocked in. "Traffic," she said with a shrug, immediately checking her phone. Diana had already served 8 customers single-handedly. "Ashley, you can take the counter," Diana said. "I'll handle the floor." But Ashley positioned herself at the register where tips were best, leaving Diana to serve tables, bus dishes, and handle takeout orders simultaneously. A young mother with 2 toddlers struggled at table 6, one child crying while she tried to eat. Diana appeared with crayons and a coloring sheet, gently calming the situation. "My little one's about the same age," she told the grateful mother. "Some days are harder than others." Meanwhile, Ashley rolled her eyes at an elderly customer who asked about the daily specials twice, sighing audibly when he requested his coffee be reheated. Miguel Rodriguez emerged from the kitchen, his face grim as he watched Diana hurry between tables. "This is wrong," he said quietly to another customer who'd commented on the service disparity. "That girl does the work of 3 people while Princess over there counts her tips." At 8:30, Victoria Miller swept in like she owned the world. Her perfectly styled hair and designer clothes stood out sharply against the blue-collar atmosphere Old Blue had cultivated. "Morning, ladies. Diana, I need you to switch to the back section. Ashley will handle the front where the important business customers sit." The important business customers were mostly white professionals grabbing quick breakfast before work. Diana's section got the families, elderly regulars, and blue-collar workers, people who tipped modestly but appreciated genuine service. Terrell watched Victoria's eyes sweep the dining room, cataloging customers with calculating precision. When her gaze lingered on him, he felt her mental categorization. Working-class black man, probably limited spending power, not worth special attention. "Diana," Victoria's voice carried across the room, "Table 12 needs their order taken. And can you bus section 3? Ashley's handling the morning reports." Diana nodded without complaint, though Terrell could see exhaustion creeping into her movements. She'd been working non-stop for 90 minutes while Ashley had spent 15 minutes arranging pastries and 20 minutes on her phone. The breaking point came when a customer complained about slow service. Victoria immediately appeared at their table with Ashley in tow. "I'm so sorry for the delay," Victoria said smoothly. "Ashley here will take care of everything. She's our senior server." Senior server? Ashley had been there 8 months to Diana's 3 years. As Ashley took over the table with exaggerated attentiveness, Victoria pulled Diana aside. "We need to discuss your efficiency issues. Some customers are commenting on wait times." Diana's shoulders tensed. "I'm covering both sections while Ashley is managing customer relations and administrative duties," Victoria cut her off. "Not everyone is suited for multitasking at this level." Terrell's hands clenched around his coffee cup. Old Blue had taught him to see beyond surface judgments, to value character over appearance. Victoria was doing exactly the opposite. The morning's cruelest moment came during the tip count. Despite Diana serving twice as many customers, Victoria divided the pooled tips evenly. "Team effort," she explained when Diana's face showed confusion. "Everyone contributes differently." Diana opened her mouth to object, then closed it. Terrell could see her calculating. Rent due, daughter in daycare, no other job prospects immediately available. She swallowed the injustice because she had no choice. As the morning rush wound down, Terrell moved closer to the counter, pretending to read a newspaper while actually watching the dynamics between Victoria and Ashley. "Honestly," Ashley said, just loud enough to be overheard, "some people just don't have the professional presence for customer-facing roles. It's not their fault. It's just how they were raised." Victoria nodded approvingly. "Image matters in this business. Customers notice everything: how you speak, how you present yourself, whether you fit their expectations." Their words dripped with coded language, but the meaning was crystal clear. Diana was being systematically marginalized because she was young, black, and didn't fit their narrow definition of professional. Terrell thought of Old Blue teaching him the same skills Diana displayed: genuine care for customers, efficient service, pride in honest work. His mentor had faced the same prejudices his daughter now endured, but he'd built something better, something Victoria was destroying one shift at a time. The final straw came when Terrell overheard Victoria on the phone with corporate. "Yes, I think it's time to consider restructuring staff assignments. Some employees work better in back-of-house positions. Less customer interaction, more suited to their skill sets." Diana was wiping tables nearby, her face carefully neutral, but Terrell saw her hands tremble slightly. She understood exactly what Victoria meant. As noon approached and his meal stretched impossibly long, Terrell prepared to leave. He'd seen enough to confirm his worst fears, and far more than he'd bargained for. At the register, Diana handed him his change with a tired smile. "Thank you for your patience today. I hope everything was okay." Her professionalism in the face of systematic mistreatment was both inspiring and heartbreaking. She was Old Blue's daughter in every way that mattered, treating every customer with dignity, even when she received none in return. "Everything was perfect," Terrell said quietly. "Your father would be proud." Diana's eyes widened in confusion, but before she could respond, Terrell was gone. Outside, he sat in his truck with shaking hands, Old Blue's apron heavy in his lap. The injustice was worse than he'd imagined, and its target was the daughter of the man who'd given him everything. Tomorrow, things would change. But first, he needed proof that would stand up to corporate scrutiny and legal challenge. The schedule book Victoria guarded so carefully would tell the real story, if he could get his hands on it. That evening, Terrell sat in his downtown office until the building emptied, then made his move. As CEO, he had master keys to every Blue Collar Bites location, a privilege he'd never used for surveillance until now. The restaurant sat quiet under the streetlights, chairs stacked on tables. The day's chaos settled into artificial peace. Terrell's footsteps echoed as he made his way to Victoria's office. a cramped space behind the kitchen that Old Blue had used for inventory and employee breaks. Victoria's desk was military precise, everything in its designated place. But there, in the center like a throne room artifact, sat the blue schedule book that had caught his attention during his undercover visit. Terrell's hands trembled as he opened it. What he found was worse than discrimination. It was a documented system of calculated cruelty. The pages revealed 3 months of deliberate manipulation. Diana's hours had been systematically reduced from 32 per week to 18, while Ashley's had increased from 15 to 28. The pattern was surgical in its precision, never quite enough to trigger unemployment benefits, but devastating to someone supporting a child. But the schedule assignments told an even uglier story. Diana consistently worked the hardest shifts, early mornings when setup was heaviest, late evenings during cleanup, doubles when others called in sick. Ashley got prime lunch hours and weekends when tips were highest and work was lightest. Terrell photographed each page with his phone, building an undeniable case. The evidence went beyond numbers. Victoria had written marginal notes that revealed her mindset. Next to Diana's name, customer complaints about attitude, needs attitude adjustment. But Terrell had witnessed Diana's interactions himself. Nothing but professionalism and warmth. Next to Ashley's name, excellent customer relations. Promote to team leader role. The promotion note was dated just 2 weeks ago. Ashley, with 8 months' experience, was now officially senior to Diana's 3 years of dedicated service. In the bottom desk drawer, Terrell found Victoria's correspondence file. His anger crystallized into cold fury as he read her emails to district management. Staff development concerns. I believe we need to consider whether certain employees align with our brand image. Diana Williams, while technically competent, may be better suited for back-of-house positions where customer interaction is limited. Her communication style and presentation don't match our target demographic expectations. The corporate responses were equally damning. Understood. Document any performance issues carefully. We need to protect the company while managing transitions sensitively. Terrell photographed everything, his phone's camera flash illuminating the systematic destruction of Old Blue's legacy. But the worst discovery came in a folder marked Personnel Reviews. Diana's file contained stellar customer feedback forms, dozens of them. Diana was amazing. She made my day better. This young lady deserves a raise. But attached to each positive review was Victoria's rebuttal note. Customer may not understand professional service standards, or feedback, doesn't reflect complete service interaction. Meanwhile, Ashley's file contained carefully curated reviews and staged photos of her interacting with well-dressed customers, building a narrative of superior performance that the schedule book proved was manufactured. The smoking gun came in a printed email exchange between Victoria and Ashley, apparently forgotten in the personnel folder. The timestamp showed it was sent during Terrell's undercover visit. Ashley: the boss's daughter act is getting old. Diana thinks she's special because her dad worked here. Victoria: don't worry. Old-timers retire, and standards change. This is a business, not a charity. We hire for results, not sentimental reasons. Ashley: when are you going to do something about the situation? It's affecting team morale. Victoria: soon. I'm documenting everything carefully. HR needs a bulletproof case for transitions. Terrell's vision blurred with rage. They weren't just discriminating against Diana. They were planning to fire her. Old Blue's daughter being pushed out of the business her father had helped build by people who saw her heritage as a liability instead of an honor. The final piece of evidence sat in Victoria's bottom drawer, a draft termination letter dated for next week. Due to ongoing performance concerns and customer service issues, we will be transitioning Diana Williams to part-time status effective immediately, with full termination pending improved metrics over a 30-day probationary period. It was a corporate hit job dressed up in human resources language. The 30-day probationary period was impossible to survive with reduced hours and the worst shifts, designed to justify the predetermined outcome. Terrell photographed everything, then sat back in Victoria's chair, surrounded by the evidence of systematic betrayal. The schedule book, the emails, the fabricated performance reviews, the planned termination. It painted a picture of deliberate cruelty wrapped in corporate procedure. His phone buzzed with a text message from the same unknown number that had started this investigation. Old Blue's granddaughter starts daycare next month. Diana's been saving for weeks, but they keep cutting her hours. Thought you should know. Old Blue's granddaughter. Terrell closed his eyes, remembering his mentor's dreams for his family's future. Diana wasn't just fighting for her job. She was fighting for her daughter's opportunities, the same way Old Blue had fought for his. Tomorrow morning, Victoria Miller would learn what happened when someone tried to destroy Albert Old Blue Williams' legacy. And Diana Williams would discover that her father's influence reached further than she'd ever imagined. Terrell arrived at the downtown blue-collar bites before dawn, the weight of evidence heavy on his phone and heavier on his conscience. He'd spent the sleepless night planning this confrontation, knowing that how he handled the next hour would define both his company's future and Diana's fate. The morning shift was already in rhythm when he pushed through the doors, no longer disguised but not yet revealed. Diana looked up from behind the counter, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Good morning, sir. Back for another breakfast?" Before he could answer, Victoria's voice cut across the dining room like a blade. "Diana, I need you in the office. Now." Terrell's blood turned to ice. The termination letter. Victoria was moving ahead with her plan. "Actually," he said, loud enough to carry across the restaurant, "I think we should all have this conversation together." Victoria turned, her practiced smile faltering when she saw Terrell's expression. Something in his bearing, the authority beneath the work clothes, the controlled anger in his stance, made her step backward. "I'm sorry, have we met?" Victoria's voice carried forced politeness, but her eyes were calculating. Ashley appeared from the kitchen, drawn by the tension. Miguel followed, wiping his hands on his apron, sensing something significant about to unfold. Diana stood frozen between the counter and the office door, caught in a moment that felt too large for comprehension. Terrell reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone, opening it to the photographed schedule book. "We need to talk about this." Victoria's face drained of color as she recognized her own handwriting on the screen. "I'm Terrell Washington," he said quietly. "I own this place." The words hit the room like a physical force. Ashley gasped audibly. Victoria's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Miguel broke into a slow smile of recognition and vindication. But Diana's reaction was the one that mattered most. Her eyes went wide, then filled with sudden understanding. You knew my father." "Old Blue was like a father to me," Terrell said, his voice thick with emotion. "He talked about you every day. How proud he was, how much he loved you." He turned to face Victoria fully. "And you've been destroying his daughter's career because she doesn't fit your idea of what a blue-collar Bites employee should look like." Victoria recovered her composure with desperate speed. "Mr. Washington, I can explain. There have been performance issues." "Performance issues?" Terrell's voice rose. "You mean like the dozens of customer compliments in her file that you dismissed? Like working triple shifts while Ashley stands around? Like cutting her hours so systematically it looks like mathematical precision?" He scrolled through his phone, reading aloud. Quote, "Diana thinks she's special because her dad worked here. That's your employee, Ashley, talking about the daughter of the man who helped build this company." Ashley's face went white as bone. That was taken out of context." "What context makes that acceptable?" Terrell's question hung in the air like smoke. Diana finally found her voice. You were going to fire me. It wasn't a question. Victoria's silence was answer enough. Next week, Terrell confirmed, showing her the termination letter on his phone. 30-day probationary period designed to fail. Very neat, very clean, very corporate. The morning customers had stopped eating, sensing the drama unfolding. But Terrell was beyond caring about public scenes. Some injustices demanded witnesses. "Diana," he said, turning to face Old Blue's daughter, "your father saved my life. He found me angry and lost, and he taught me that serving people good food with respect wasn't just a job, it was a calling. He talked about you constantly, your intelligence, your work ethic, how you were going to make something of yourself." Tears were streaming down Diana's face now. He talked about you too. The young man he was mentoring. He was so proud when you started your own business. And you've been here 3 years, carrying on his legacy, while these two tried to drive you out. Terrell's voice turned steel hard as he faced Victoria again. "You're done. Pack your things." "You can't just," Victoria began. "I can and I am." "Ashley, you have a choice. You can learn what this company actually stands for, or you can follow Victoria out the door." Ashley looked between Terrell and the door, her carefully constructed world crumbling. I want to learn. Please." Terrell studied her for a long moment. "We'll see." The dining room had gone completely silent except for the gentle sizzle from Miguel's grill. Even the morning rush seemed suspended, waiting for resolution. Diana stepped forward, wiping her eyes. "Mr. Washington." "Terrell, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Your work speaks for itself. Your character speaks for itself. Your father's influence speaks through everything you do here." He paused, then smiled with genuine warmth. "But I do have something to ask you. Anything. How would you feel about being the new manager of this location?" The question hit Diana like lightning. Her hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide with shock and hope and disbelief all at once. Miguel whooped from the kitchen. "About damn time." Victoria, still standing in stunned silence, finally found her voice. "This is discrimination." "You can't fire me for systematically targeting an employee based on race, for planning termination based on image rather than performance, for turning my father figure's workplace into everything he fought against." Terrell's smile was cold as winter. "Try me." Victoria gathered what dignity she could and headed for the office to collect her belongings. Ashley stood awkwardly, clearly unsure whether to follow or stay. Diana looked around the dining room, at the customers now openly smiling and applauding, at Miguel beaming from the kitchen window, at the blue schedule book that had documented her persecution and would now record her promotion. "Yes," she whispered. Then stronger. "Yes, I'll be your manager." Old Blue's legacy was safe, and justice, delayed but not denied, had finally come home. Within an hour of Victoria's departure, Terrell had transformed the back office into a command center for systematic change. Diana sat across from him, still processing her promotion while Miguel and Ashley waited nearby, one grinning with vindication, the other pale with uncertainty. "First things first," Terrell said, opening his laptop. "We're going to rebuild this place the right way, Old Blue's way." He pulled up the corporate personnel system and began typing. "Diana Williams, promoted to general manager, effective immediately. Starting salary." He paused, considering. 65,000 plus performance bonuses tied to customer satisfaction and team development. Diana's eyes went wide. That's almost double what I was making." "It's what the position pays. What you should have been earning based on your performance." Terrell turned the screen toward her. "But more important than the money are the principles we're implementing." He opened a new document and began outlining the new operational framework. Rule 1. Scheduling will be based on seniority, availability, and performance. In that order. No favoritism, no image considerations, no coded language. Diana nodded, already understanding. What about Ashley? Ashley stepped forward nervously. I want to make this right. I know I messed up. Terrell studied her carefully. Ashley, you have two choices. You can embrace what this company actually stands for, treating everyone with dignity and respect. Or you can find another job. But if you stay, you start over. Same pay grade as any new employee, earning advancement through merit, not politics. I'll stay, Ashley said quickly. I want to learn. From Diana. The reversal was complete. The favored employee now reporting to the woman she'd helped marginalize. But Terrell sensed genuine remorse in Ashley's voice, perhaps the first authentic thing he'd heard from her. Miguel, Terrell called to the kitchen. Get out here. You're part of this too. The veteran cook emerged, still smiling. Never thought I'd see the day. You've been here 8 years watching this happen. That stops now. I'm promoting you to kitchen manager with authority over all back-of-house operations. And I want you to help Diana rebuild the culture here. Miguel's weathered face lit up. Old Blue would be dancing. Terrell pulled out the original Blue schedule book, the one Victoria had used as a weapon of discrimination. Diana, this is yours now, but we're changing what it represents. He opened to a fresh page and began writing new scheduling principles. Equal distribution of prime shifts. Fair rotation of difficult assignments. No employee works more than 2 consecutive difficult shifts without a recovery day. Diana leaned forward, studying the framework. What about performance management? Based on customer feedback, peer reviews, and objective metrics, not subjective image assessments. Terrell's voice hardened, remembering Victoria's coded language. We measure character, not appearance. Over the next 2 hours, they rebuilt the restaurant's operational structure from the ground up. New break policies ensuring equal rest time. Revised tip sharing that reflected actual work contribution. Training programs for all staff on unconscious bias and inclusive service. But the most important change, Terrell said, standing up, is cultural. He walked to the dining room wall where Old Blue's photograph hung, the same one Diana kept behind the register. Your father believed that serving people good food with respect wasn't just a job. It was a calling. We're going back to that. Diana touched the frame gently. He used to say that every customer deserved to feel welcome, regardless of what they looked like or how much money they had. Exactly. And every employee deserves to be judged by their character and contribution, not their background or appearance. Terrell turned to address all 3 employees. That's not just policy now. It's our mission. The lunch rush began filtering in, and Terrell watched Diana step into her new role. The transformation was immediate. She moved with new confidence, making decisions with natural authority, treating Ashley with professional courtesy despite their history. Ashley, Diana said, you take section 1. I'll handle 2 and 3 until we get additional staff trained. No punishment, no petty revenge, just fair distribution of responsibilities. Ashley nodded gratefully. Diana, I'm sorry, really sorry. I didn't understand. We start fresh, Diana said simply. But we do this right. As the day progressed, Terrell implemented broader changes. He called corporate HR to report Victoria's discriminatory practices and ensure they couldn't happen elsewhere in the chain. He scheduled bias training for all managers company-wide. He established anonymous feedback channels for employees to report unfair treatment. But the most meaningful change was personal. During the afternoon lull, Terrell pulled out Old Blue's original apron from his truck. This was your father's, he told Diana. He gave it to me when I started my first restaurant, said it would remind me to stay humble. But I think he'd want you to have it now. Diana held the apron with reverence, running her fingers over the faded Blue Collar Bites logo. He wore this every day for 20 years. And now his daughter will carry on what he built. That evening, as the restaurant prepared to close, Diana stood in the same spot where Victoria had tormented her that morning. But everything had changed. The schedule book now showed fair assignments. The staff worked as a team rather than competing factions. The atmosphere hummed with the dignity and respect Old Blue had always envisioned. Miguel appeared from the kitchen, hanging up his apron. "Diana, I got to say, your daddy would be proud as punch seeing you in charge." Ashley, finishing her closing duties without complaint, added quietly, "I'm going to do better. I promise." Diana nodded to both of them, then looked at Terrell. "How do I thank you for this?" "By honoring what your father built. By treating people the way you wanted to be treated. By remembering that success means lifting others up, not pushing them down." As Terrell prepared to leave, he took one last look around the dining room. The same tables and chairs, the same kitchen, the same blue aprons. But the soul of the place had been restored. Old Blue's legacy was safe in his daughter's capable hands. And Blue Collar Bites had remembered what it truly meant to serve people with dignity and respect. 3 weeks later, the downtown Blue Collar Bites hummed with an energy that had been missing for months. Terrell arrived for his regular check-in to find the morning rush flowing like a well-orchestrated symphony, each team member playing their part with renewed purpose. Diana moved through the dining room with quiet confidence, the blue schedule book tucked under her arm, no longer a weapon of discrimination, but a tool of fairness. Her management style was exactly what Terrell had hoped for: firm but compassionate, efficient but personal. "Good morning, Mrs. Patterson," Diana said to the elderly woman at table 4. "The usual today?" "Oh, honey, yes, please. And I have to tell you, this place feels like home again. Whatever changes you made, they're working." Diana beamed. "Thank you. That means everything." Ashley appeared with Mrs. Patterson's coffee, her demeanor completely transformed from the entitled employee of a month ago. "I remembered you like extra cream," she said warmly, setting down the cup. The interaction would have been impossible under Victoria's regime. Ashley serving an elderly customer with genuine care, Diana supervising with encouragement rather than suspicion. In the kitchen, Miguel had embraced his role as kitchen manager with enthusiasm. He'd restructured the prep schedule to be more efficient while teaching newer cooks the standards Old Blue had established decades ago. "Remember," he told 17-year-old Marcus, a recent hire, "we don't just make food here, we make someone's day better. Every plate that goes out represents who we are." Marcus nodded seriously, then grinned. Like Diana always says, serve with pride, serve with heart. That had become Diana's unofficial motto, written on a whiteboard in the break room alongside the week's fare schedule. No more favorite assignments, no more systematic exclusions, just honest work fairly distributed. Terrell watched from his corner table as Diana handled a customer complaint with grace. A businessman was upset about his wait time, speaking louder than necessary. "Sir, I completely understand your frustration," Diana said calmly. "Let me personally ensure your order is prioritized and breakfast is on us today." The man's irritation melted under her professional handling. "Thank you. I'm sorry for raising my voice." "No need to apologize. We all have stressful mornings." It was exactly how Old Blue would have handled it, acknowledging the customer's feelings while maintaining dignity for everyone involved. During the lunch lull, Diana called a brief team meeting. Ashley, Miguel, Marcus, and 2 other staff members gathered around table 6. "Customer satisfaction scores for this month," Diana announced, reading from her tablet. 96% positive. Revenue up 31% from last month. But more important, we've had 0 employee complaints and 3 applications from people who heard we're a great place to work. The team exchanged proud smiles. They'd rebuilt the restaurant's reputation through simple dedication to treating everyone well. "Ashley," Diana continued, "you've shown real growth in customer relations." "Miguel, Your kitchen efficiency improvements have cut wait times by 20%. Marcus, customers specifically mention your positive attitude. Ashley raised her hand tentatively. Diana, I wanted to say something in front of everyone. She took a breath. I was wrong about a lot of things. I thought success meant being better than other people, when it really means helping everyone succeed together. The confession carried weight because it was earned through weeks of changed behavior, not empty words. Miguel nodded approvingly. That's what Old Blue always taught. We rise together or we fall apart. After the meeting, Terrell approached Diana privately. How does it feel? Like coming home, she said simply. Like everything Dad taught me about treating people right finally has a place to live. She showed him a framed photo on her desk, Old Blue holding a baby Diana, both of them laughing. I found this in his things after he passed. I think he'd be happy seeing his granddaughter's daycare tuition getting paid by the business he helped build. More than happy. He'd be proud that his daughter is carrying forward everything he believed in. Diana picked up the schedule book, its blue cover now soft with handling. You know what the best part is? This used to make me anxious every day, wondering how unfairly I'd be treated. Now it represents possibility, fair schedules, equal opportunities, respect for everyone. As closing time approached, the team worked together cleaning and preparing for the next day. Ashley wiped tables without being asked. Marcus organized supplies with careful attention. Miguel cleaned his kitchen with the pride of ownership. And Diana supervised it all wearing Old Blue's original apron, her father's legacy living on through her leadership. The downtown blue-collar bites had become what it was always meant to be, a place where good food was served with dignity, where employees were valued for their character, and where Old Blue's dream of treating everyone with respect had found its perfect expression in his daughter's capable hands. 6 months after the confrontation that changed everything, Terrell stood outside the downtown blue-collar bites, watching the dinner rush through windows that now revealed harmony instead of tension. Inside, Diana Williams had transformed the restaurant into exactly what her father had envisioned. The blue schedule book sat prominently on the counter, no longer hidden like a guilty secret, but displayed as a symbol of fairness. Employee turnover had dropped to 0. Customer satisfaction scores consistently topped 95%. Revenue had increased 47%. But the numbers told only part of the story. Ashley Taylor, once the beneficiary of discriminatory favoritism, had become Diana's most trusted assistant manager. She'd learned that true leadership meant lifting others up, not stepping on them. Her transformation from entitled employee to dedicated team member proved that people could change when given the chance. Miguel Rodriguez's kitchen ran with military precision and familial warmth. He'd trained 4 new cooks using Old Blue's methods, passing down techniques and values that would outlive them all. The wall behind the register now featured a gallery of employee achievements alongside Old Blue's original photo. Diana's business degree, earned through night classes while working full-time. Marcus's scholarship to culinary school. Ashley's customer service certification. Most importantly, the restaurant had become a beacon in the community. Other blue-collar bites locations sent managers to learn Diana's methods. Corporate had implemented her fairness protocols system-wide. Local businesses sought her advice on inclusive management practices. Diana's 3-year-old daughter often visited after daycare, drawing pictures at table 6 while her mother finished administrative work. Old Blue's granddaughter would grow up knowing that hard work, fairness, and treating people with dignity weren't just ideals. They were practical principles that built successful businesses and better communities. The anonymous text sender who had started Terrell's investigation had revealed themselves. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly regular who couldn't stand watching Diana's mistreatment. Sometimes you have to speak up for people who can't speak up for themselves, she'd told Terrell. As Terrell drove home, he thought about Old Blue's favorite saying, "Take care of your people, and they'll take care of your business." Diana had proved that principle true every single day since taking over. Your workplace experiences matter. Share your story of fairness, discrimination, or positive change in the comments below. Your voice could be the catalyst someone needs to speak up, stand up, or step up for what's right.